Hey folks, Sean here, and I am so geeking out about ChatGPT. I want to talk to you about what I think are the most disruptive potential use cases and how it could change the way we access information forever. So, if you don't know what ChatGPT is, it's essentially an AI bot, but one you can have a conversation with and access information in a completely new way. It comes from the folks at OpenAI, and they've been working on this for years, training this thing over and over again and releasing multiple versions of it over time as they've been testing in order to make the results better and better. And their most recent release, which came out around the November timeframe, is starting to make its rounds around the world, and it is leaving a dramatic impression on everybody who's experienced it so far, especially as techies like me. We're just geeking out thinking about the possibilities. I have heard so many cool different stories from so many different people about what they've used it for that has made a dramatic impact to the way that they do things. So I want to talk about what some of those are because I've been reading articles and hearing the stories and all that kind of stuff, but I want to talk about what I think ChatGPT has in terms of potential to majorly disrupt the way we access information, which I think is by far the coolest use case, or at least the one that has the potential to be the most disruptive. Now, for me, what I think is the problem ultimately that I will solve, which could be the biggest problem experienced by the largest number of people, because that's usually where I'm focused. I'm always looking for what I call these problems worth solving, or using different frameworks like jobs to be done, if you're familiar, as in what's the obvious unmet need here? And like how can we apply technology to solve a problem that is the largest problem experienced by the largest number of people that will provide the strongest ROI and the most value and all that kind of stuff, right? That is the potential to help the most people and generate the most value for a company that's providing the technology that's ultimately going to solve that problem. And for me, I think it's the way we access information. So if we think about the way this happens for most people today, myself, for example, I go to search engines. I go to Google to try to access whatever it is I'm trying to find. However, most of the time, I'm left frustrated with that experience, and I'll give you my use case. If I want to find something through Google, I've got to get the exact key phrase in terms of whatever it is I'm looking for exactly correct, or else I'm not going to wind up finding what it is I was looking for. And what I think is so frustrating about that experience is if I don't get that key phrase exactly correct, I have to start all over again. That's what's frustrating to me is like it's not more of a conversation, and that's really what ChatGPT is, which I think so far has been the coolest experience with it for me. As in, I can start with a conversation about, I live in the Philly area and I'm a bit of a sports buff, so I follow the Philadelphia Eagles. But I was on a group call with a number of my friends recently, and we were geeking out about it and its potential. So we're asking it questions like, tell us about who the top players on the Eagles were, and just kind of stop there and see what it comes up with. And we wondered, is it going to fill in the gaps? Is it going to know what we mean by Eagles? And short answer is yes, it did. It filled in the gaps there, and it listed what was the top players based on certain categories for the Philadelphia Eagles football team. So it inserted some information that we didn't feel the need to specify, or we wouldn't have in conversation format. And I think that is the coolest thing of it that it provides so far is it enables us to access information in the way that we naturally would want to as humans. As opposed to thinking like a search engine, I get to think like a person, which sounds weird to say, but it is a much more pleasant experience, and the results thus far are also more effective. As in, I don't have to guess and think like a robot, figure out what the keywords are, Philadelphia Eagles, best player, so on and so forth, and then see what might come up in terms of results. I can ask a question like I would to a person who might be super knowledgeable on a topic and then get the kind of information that I'm looking for almost immediately. That's what's super exciting about it as well too. And most of the people that I'm talking with are talking about the time save that the technology is providing them for the use cases that they're attempting to solve problems with. So that I think is really exciting about ChatGPT and what it can do in that it enables us to access information in a different way, conversation format, which is how we think and act naturally as humans, as opposed to trying to figure out how to kind of game or work a different system, which today the leading one for most people is probably the search engine. But the use cases are unlimited here. And that's where I'd love some feedback from you in terms of like what you think are the coolest ways this technology has the potential to disrupt the way we do things. Because the possibilities are seemingly endless. And I think that's one of the other coolest things about researching this technology right now is you're figuring out all the cool things people are figuring out how to use it or leverage it in order to move entire industries forward, starting with solving small problems, but those problems are getting bigger and bigger as I learn about how people are leveraging this technology. And I've seen everything from, writing code, writing poems about what different types of wild stories and stuff like that, to actually writing code for folks. I know people that are pretty advanced engineers that are saying that it's saving them a tremendous amount of time because whatever it is they want to whip up in code, ChatGPT is able to do it for them in like seconds or minutes. Or it may not be perfect, so it may not be like the exact code that you would design perfectly or whatever, but how often do we really need that in order to move things like that forward, right? More often than not, there's a balance between efficiency and effectiveness where if we can get what we need to be effective sooner rather than later, that probably is going to provide us with even more value than if we were to design it perfectly from the beginning, as in there's diminishing returns there. So anyway, I could go on about what I think the possibilities are here pretty much forever, but ChatGPT has the potential to disrupt the way we do things in a major way. Hey folks, Sean here. Thanks for watching. I hope you got value out of it. If you did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel where you can be notified about more content like this. And my question for you, which I'd love for you to answer in the comments, is what do you think is the most disruptive thing about the new technology from ChatGPT?